Hello everyone, welcome to RoDTEP. I am Surbhi and this is Perspective 360 Degree, your one-stop solution for current affairs, descriptive writing and answer writing evaluation. If the audio is clear and if the screen is clear to you, if the orientation is perfect, then kindly let me know in the chat section. Let's warm up with a conversation and then let's begin today's discussion. And the discussion for the topic for today's discussion is going to be the RoDTEP scheme, which is a very important scheme for promoting exports of India. There are other schemes also working for various sectors for which are helpful in promoting exports from India, but RoDTEP scheme is very important since this is a recent one and it has few months back it was extended till June 2024. So during that time I'm expecting that your examination cycle, the descriptive part would be covered, the at least objective and descriptive part for various examinations would be covered, and this scheme is going to stay in news especially around the budget, so let's cover this well in advance. And okay, so Kshitij is here. Good evening, Kshitij. Shreya, good evening. All of you, if everything is clear, then kindly send me a thumbs up in the chat section so that we can proceed ahead. I'm waiting for your responses. Is the audio and video both clear? All right, all right. So I've got the prompt. So first of all, let's look at what are the news headlines that have been appearing with respect to the scheme. The first one is from Money Control. It says that government to extend RoDTEP scheme benefits to e-commerce exporters. So e-commerce exporters were not previously covered under the scheme, and if they have been included now, that means the scheme is very, very beneficial. That means other sectors are included because of a particular reason. Then India to convince US about WTO compatibility of RoDTEP scheme. RoDTEP scheme was brought in 2021 just to make it compliant with WTO norms. You know that World Trade Organization regulates and looks after global trade. So it has certain rules and regulations so that trade becomes fair for everybody. And US has been complaining against India. There was a MEIS scheme before the RoDTEP scheme for which US launched a complaint. So India just replaced that scheme with RoDTEP to make it more WTO compliant, but still we are finding it hard to convince USA with our new scheme. Then government extends RoDTEP scheme till June 2024. This is also this is from September, and hence the scheme is important for you. And again, I think these news headlines are the repetition of the previous one, except the last one. Exporters seek more SOPs for value-added products under RoDTEP scheme. That means they're demanding more money or more rebate under RoDTEP scheme. So first of all, let us look at the relevance of this topic from RBI Grade B perspective. In the economic and social issues part of your syllabus, there is a topic under Indian economy called industrial development. So since it is related to exports of products, that's why industrial developments is the topic that gets covered in India, industrial development in India. WTO is obviously going to be part of the discussion, and export import policy of India and the related schemes. That's where it holds relevance. For those of you preparing for NABARD Grade A examination, you have this topic called economic reforms in India, industrial performance, and then you have this topic called WTO. So kindly look for such topics. And for SEBI Grade A today, thankfully the scheme does not find implicit reference, but yes, explicitly this topic has been stated in the SEBI Grade A examination syllabus, which is direct and indirect taxes, which is very much related to this scheme. I'll explain this to you in a while. So getting back to the chat section, good evening Sakshi. Sejal, good evening. I hope your doubts have been addressed. We got your email, and you will find a considerable change in all the all the things that you have put out there. Okay, so don't worry. Anyone facing any problem with the evaluations, with I think the previous videos, previous one of the answer that did not receive good evaluation as suggested by many of you, so that has been taken care of in the further discussions. All right, Shreya, Purva, all right. Good evening, Aditi. So let's move ahead and let's look at what is the expected question from this scheme. So see, for any scheme, first of all, that you should be aware of is why a particular scheme has been introduced. the reason of the scheme is very much related to the aim of that scheme. So the reason of the scheme should be clear. Then secondly, features of the scheme should be clear, so that in case the examiner is asking you brief overview of a particular scheme or features of that scheme, then you should be able to answer that. The third thing that you should be covering is any issues which are related with either implementation, budgetary allocation, or any other issues associated with that particular scheme. So these three components should be clear. You can obviously offer a way forward which could be increased budgetary allocation, as we saw in the case of MG Narega, which we covered many videos back. But you've seen that with schemes, way forward is usually better implementation by government authorities, increase of funds, and including civil society actors or the public at large. So that's the way forward. That's the conventional way forward for a scheme. Let's look at the question that we have here. Provide a brief overview of remission of duties and taxes on exported product scheme, which is the RoDTEP scheme. So the full form of the scheme is remission of duties and taxes on exported products. So basically it provides you a rebate for the taxes and input taxes that have undergone in producing one product. Highlight the issues associated with the same. I'll explain this in a while. And today's question is just for 400 words and it will get you 10 marks, since there are not a lot of features associated with the scheme. Hence hence the word limit has been kept very short, and also there are not many issues except for the ones like the WTO compliance and the money that is given as rebate to exporters. So first of all, let's go through the answer blueprint. The answer blueprint is divided into three parts. That means you have to write an introduction for all the answers. Then it should follow with the main body. Make sure that there are interlinking points between your introduction and main body. Don't just start writing main body directly, and never end without a conclusion or giving a way forward. In the introduction, we give a brief overview of the topic under discussion. For example, here we'll give a general overview and background of the scheme. Here we'll talk about why the scheme was introduced, when it was introduced, and what does it do. In like 3 to 4 lines, we'll write this introduction. In the body part 1, we'll talk about the overview or features plus significance. That will form part of overview here. That why the scheme is important, what is the scheme doing differently. All the things will be covered in body part 1. Then highlighting the issues associated with the same. There are just 2-3 issues, so we'll keep this part short so that we don't cross the word limit. So issues associated will be handled separately. Don't do this that you're writing issues first and then you are moving to talk about features of the scheme. Don't do that. Okay, it confuses the examiner and it disturbs the flow in your answer. So just answer in the order in which question has been asked. Then in the conclusion, obviously we'll summarize what we have written and we'll also give a way forward. So now starting with the introduction, but to know the introduction, you should be aware of one thing. So see, India's export subsidy was challenged in World Trade Organization by USA, and thus RoDTEP scheme was introduced, which was WTO compliant. So back in 2019, see, first of all, what you want is that your product should be able to sell in international market. Okay, in international market, what do we get? We can get like higher rates for our products. Let's say you're producing a candle for 50 rupees. If you're able to export it to, rich markets like USA, you can as well sell it for 500 rupees or 1000 rupees. That means the money that you earn on your product is very much higher if you're able to export your products, because it is expected that you will be getting higher prices of the same product when you export it. Okay, and yeah, so obviously the government wants to have more and more foreign exchange in the country, and the government wants more economic growth in the country. More employment should be there, more people should be involved in the production process. That can only be done when that exports are profitable. So the government, it was running a scheme which was providing subsidy on export products. That means when they get into the international market, before that government was giving some amount of money to the exporters so that they can sell their products at a cheaper rate, okay, to cover all the initial costs and everything. And the cheaper your products are in the international market, the more people will be able to buy them. Let's say that candle in USA is costing somebody 1000 rupees, a candle that is produced in USA, and that's a very um, a hypothetical figure, but a candle that has been exported by India that is just costing 500 rupees. So what happens? Your product in a developed market becomes more competitive. People will buy that good more if it provides them with good quality, and that is the truth with many of the Indian products. Okay, so government wanted to support it, so government was providing export subsidy to exporters in one form or the other, and then USA actually launched a case against India at World Trade Organization back in 2019 that India is providing subsidies on exports, which is making their goods cheaper in our markets, and hence our industry is suffering. So kindly look into this matter. So India, what Indian government did, Ministry of Commerce, what they did, they launched a new scheme called RoDTEP, and the previous schemes, they were either amalgamated into the scheme, or they were completely called off. Now in RoDTEP scheme, subsidies are not given. But again, what government wants? The government wants that the Indian products which are exported, they should be available at a cheaper rate. And how can the government do it? Let's say to make a candle, there is, you're using flicks, you're using wax, and when you buy those raw materials, for buying those raw materials also you're paying taxes, you're paying some amount of tax when you are buying raw materials, you're carrying out the production process. So government decided that let's not pay subsidies because these are challenged by other countries. Let's start to pay back the taxes which have already been paid by exporters as part of production process. For example, on raw materials, whatever taxes you've already paid, they will be reimbursed to you. That's why this scheme is known as remission of duties, refund or remission of duties and taxes on exported products, so that at least whatever cost you have incurred, the government can give you some money for it. And since this is just refund, hence countries like USA cannot challenge it. This is not a subsidy, this is just refund of the money so that your product can become cheaper, so that you're able to export it and sell it better in international markets. So first of all, it's a flagship export promotion scheme of Commerce Ministry of India. Flagship scheme means it is one of the most important export promotion scheme of Commerce Ministry of India. Here, as you can see, the explanation is very, very right. You have given the full form of the scheme, and you've also mentioned that which ministry is it coming from. Now you can talk about explaining the scheme. So it was announced in September 2019 with an aim to boost the domestic exports, as I have explained to you. And what did it replace? It replaced the previous export incentive scheme through which we were providing with subsidies, and that was known as Merchandise Exports from India scheme, MEIS scheme, useful for providing subsidies on exports. That was called off, and it was replaced by this RoDTEP scheme. Now, a brief overview, a brief history can be mentioned by you, that this came after a WTO ruling stated that the MEIS scheme of India, it violated provisions of the trade agency. That means it violated provisions of WTO, as it was providing export subsidies for a several range of goods. Now the scheme, talking about the RoDTEP scheme, we've talked about history, we've talked about ministry, everything. Now you can talk about that what does RoDTEP scheme do? It provides refunds on the taxes that have already been paid. So the scheme aims to refund to the exporters the embedded central, state and local duties and taxes, all levels of taxes, whether it is levied by state government or local government or the central government. So all of them will be refunded, paid on inputs that were so far not refunded or rebated. And when you get a tax refund on the production, that means you can actually sell those products at a cheaper rate in the international market, since your production cost actually goes down. So now this is a brief overview of the scheme. As you can see in the introduction, we've used just 5 lines and that explains the scheme. It explains the need of the scheme. Why was this introduced? And the examiner does like it when you talk about the need of the scheme. Why was this introduced? All right. So now from here we are moving on to the Let's Delve Deeper section. In this section, we'll discuss the features and significance of the scheme and issues associated. Till now, if you have any additions to make in this discussion, the chat section is welcome to you. Kindly let me know. And if you happen to watch this video in a recorded format, then kindly let me know in the comment section if you have any additions to make or if you have any doubts. Ashwini, kindly book a strategy call with us so that we can guide you better for that. High import duty. Rohit, just kindly make it clear what are you trying to say? USA also increased duties on import of products which are covered under the scheme. That's right, Lucifer. So exports that and Rohit Sharma, good evening. So all the products which were covered under RoDTEP scheme. So obviously they became cheaper because the government was giving refund on the taxes already being paid. So USA and European Union, they recognized this, and what they did was they levied higher import duties on the products exported under the scheme. So, for example, let's say if you're exporting candles to markets of USA and Europe, and your candles are cheaper as compared to the candles produced in their markets, and candle is just a hypothetical example, and so USA decided that okay, candle is covered under RoDTEP scheme. That means it is cheaper in our markets now because of efforts of Ministry of Commerce. So let's put a very high import tax or import duty on candles coming from India. That means in markets of USA, those candles become expensive, then people will not buy it. Okay, so that's that. Like countries, even if they have good relations with each other, for example, USA has good relations with India, Europe has good relations with India, still when it comes to commerce, when it comes to economy, they do not delay in filing cases at WTO, or they do not delay in putting import duties on products coming from other countries, because the aim of globalization is our country first. The benefit of the profits of our countrymen is topmost priority. So you can be surprised that our prime minister just visited USA, and they have good relations. Both the countries have good relations. Then why are they filing a case against India? Both of these things go in parallel. Okay, so don't be surprised. Now, moving on to the body part one, that is features or significance of the scheme. So, first of all, it avoids tax cascading. That means you're not paying taxes again and again. So, RoDTEP scheme, first of all, the principle that it is based on is that the taxes or duties which are present in the domestic market, they should not be exported, because the purpose of exports is to bring money to India. And if you're making your exports more expensive by putting a lot of taxes on them in the domestic market itself, or in the country itself, then that is against that a good trade principle, or it is not benefiting your country at large. So this is globally accepted principle that taxes and duties should not be exported, and taxes and levies borne on the exported products should be either exempted or remitted to exporters, because ultimately the exporters are the ones who are contributing towards growth of India, and they're contributing so much to employment and bringing so much of foreign exchange, and hence that's a globally accepted principle that these taxes should be refunded, and all countries do it. Then the scheme rebates or refunds the embedded central, state, and local duties or taxes to the exporters that were so far not being rebated and refunded. This line is a repetition of what we wrote in introduction, so you can skip this. And what does it help in do is it reduces the cascading effect in taxes, that is tax on tax. For example, there was a tax when you bought the raw material, then you processed it into something else and you sent it to another factory. Then there was another tax, and then in the final stage there is another tax, then there is tax on export. So tax on tax can be avoided. That means cascading can be avoided by this automatic refund route. So it is more exhaustive, and it has also added taxes that were previously excluded. For example, education says state taxes on power, oil, and water, they were not included. Now they can be included under the RoDTEP scheme and in the taxing of all these products. Then it is quick and efficient, as the platform is digitized. There is a platform developed by CBIA, CBIC platform. Is there, and because of the digitization, it is highly efficient and quick. That means exports can happen more quickly, more quick deliveries can occur of products or consignments which have to be sent to other countries. So it uses an automated system to provide credit to exporters. It minimizes the paperwork required, and it helps to reduce fraud in getting refunds. So that this has been avoided and this has been tackled, which was earlier a problem. And the rebate is issued as a transferable enable electronics script by the CBI, CBIC you call it, Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs, in an end-to-end IT environment. So that makes it very quick and efficient. Then obviously it leads to export competitiveness. How does it do that? Because first of all, the main objective of the scheme is to boost the export sector, which was poor in volume. It reduces the cost of production for exporters, obviously, since the money is refunded. And then it is expected to boost exports from India by making Indian exports more competitive, or let's say, cheaper in global markets, by helping exporters meet international standards and improve the quality of their exports. The same money that these exporters were paying for taxes, the same money can be used to improve the quality of their product, or the quality of how they carry out their exports. So it will improve the ease of doing business in India, since more and more let's say, foreign investors will be motivated that such a scheme is running in India, RoDTEP scheme is running in India, and hence production cost of any product are going to be lesser in India. Hence it also it also attracts foreign investors. What else it does is employment generation. See, all the sectors are not covered under the scheme. All the products are not covered, but the products which were covered, since it started in 2021. So around that time you had the COVID-19 pandemic. So in the COVID-19 pandemic, for your sectors like pharmaceuticals were booming. A lot of medicines, vaccines were required all over the world. So these sectors were not covered. Now they have been included. But initially, whatever sectors were covered was, the government kept in mind that these sectors produce a lot of employment. For example, marine, agriculture, leather, gems, and jewelry, they are covered under this scheme. Textiles are not covered. For textiles, we have a separate scheme which provides, remission or refund on exports. So other segments like automobile, plastics, electrical, electronics, they are also getting support under the RoDTEP scheme. And recently, like a few months back in 2022, your steel and pharmaceuticals were also included. So yes, here we'll discuss the point variety of sectors which are being covered. We've discussed employment generation. So look at this update from PIB on 7th December 2022. And this is an old one, but this is an addition to the scheme, and you should understand why this addition has been there. So RoDTEP scheme gets extended to chemicals, pharmaceuticals, and articles of iron and steel from 2022 onwards. That is December 2022 onwards. So this was a very important step, that new sectors were included. Hence, production of all these products related to, let's say, medicines, that will be at a lower cost. So variety of sectors, first of all, it's a multi-sector scheme, covers a wide range of goods exported from India and includes both manufactured goods and agriculture products. So do not get confused here. Agriculture and manufactured, both goods are covered. And the left out sectors which were already booming during the COVID-19 pandemic, they have also been subsequently included. And what it does, it promotes inclusive growth in India, because all kinds of production processes, even agriculture products, they are included. That means all kind of skill sets, they get employed, all kinds of people, they get money out of the exports. All right, so all levels of society, they can be covered. Let's say if this scheme was just covering high-end goods, that means that which requires high skill set to be produced, then poor people will obviously not benefit. So the benefit of covering variety of sectors is that all kinds of social classes, poor people, middle class category, rich people, everybody gets covered and everybody gets benefited. Now moving on to the issues associated related to the scheme. For that, I have a few snapshots for you, and these are the recent ones. This is from December 2023. About the RoDTEP scheme, US and European Union slapped countervailing duties on 4 Indian goods. What are countervailing duties? Import duty imposed as a result of some product being subsidized by other country to make it look cheaper in a domestic market. For example, through the RoDTEP scheme, we're not providing subsidy, but our export goods are becoming cheaper. So to counteract that, cheaper availability of goods in US market or European Union market, they have imposed countervailing duties or high import duties. So what are the 4 products which have seen these duties? Paper file folders, common alloy aluminium sheet, forged steel fluid end blocks, and graphite electrode systems. And all these, all these kinds of products, they require intensive labor to be produced. These are the low skilled people, these are the poor people who work in India in such production process. So countervailing duties on 4 Indian goods have been laid. The second issue that is coming is that exporters, they seek higher support under RoDTEP. That means whatever refund is is being availed by the exporters, that is not meeting their demands. Probably it is not matching up to their expectations as it was there in the MEEI scheme which was running before this, and probably it is not able to refund their actual production cost or actual taxes, and also the refunds are delayed many a times. So for example, not for example, first of all, your goods exports is declining since August last year because of Russia-Ukraine war and then the crisis of Israel and Palestine. And so the scheme was extended till June 30 of 2024. But again, higher support is required. Budgetary allocation over the years has decreased for this scheme. So in this new budget that appears towards the end of, that appears in February, we'll see that if this scheme, and keep an eye on it, that if the scheme has got more allocation in the budget, and note it down that is it increasing from the previous year or has it decreased, because that is a problem with exporters. Then center extends RoDTEP scheme to more sectors, but refund woes remain. So more sectors have been included as I showed you, but refund problems are there. So issues, first of all, you can talk about that, many countries still say that it is not WTO compliant. You can also talk about the lesser refunds or the lesser money back that is given to exporters. You can talk about lower rates, that significantly reduce rates and a limited budgetary allocation, and they fail to consider taxes embedded in raw materials, particularly in cases involving engineering products and steel. Then there is an important term called freight on board. See, freight on board is not a term that exporters want to use, or this is not a practice that exporters want to follow, but the scheme mentions this term and hence exporters have to follow this. Now, what is this? Under the scheme, a rebate or refund can be claimed as a percentage of freight on board value of exports. Freight on board means whatever products you have kept on the ship. Imagine it like that, whatever products are there on the ship. Now, freight on board is not, this term is basically, if it is used, it is not profitable for exporters. It makes the exports less competitive, because freight on board, the liability has to be taken by the purchaser. Let's say somebody in USA is buying your candles, buying your products. So if you use this term freight on board, that means the liability, if let's say unfortunately the ship sinks or the products are damaged, then the liability lies on the buyer if the freight on board origin or freight on board destination terms are used. Okay, so exports, your exports become less competitive. The full explanation is given here. I will not delve into it, but just keep in mind that if this scheme is using this term, that means the exporters will have to use this method of export or use this method of liability given on the seller to export their products. And if there is more liability on the buyer to on the exported products, that means the buyer will not be very much motivated to buy these products, because there will be chances that the consignment doesn't reach him or it gets damaged and his money will be wasted. Okay, so the scheme has this loophole. Now coming to the conclusion, here we'll be talking about the summary and the way forward. Till here, if you have any additions or doubts, then kindly let me know in the chat section, because till the end, if I ask you doubts in the end, then many of you just leave the discussion feeling that okay, we have learned everything. So if you are unable to understand anything till here, make sure that you write it in the chat section by the time I'll complete the conclusion and the way forward here. So first of all, the loopholes of the scheme can be addressed only by increased budgetary allocation, inclusion of more sectors in the scheme, and that's a good step that the government has extended the scheme to June 2024. Because see, MEIS scheme that was called off, so obviously exports would have become expensive in international markets. So exporters would have not been motivated. They would have received an overnight shock. Now to curtail that shock, RoDTEP scheme was launched. Now it is applicable till June 2024 only. So that is also, the exporters are very, very anxious about this. So first of all, you can obviously talk about the positive side, that the government is leaving no stone unturned to support domestic industry and make it more competitive in the international markets. And the scheme has now been expanded to more and more sectors. You can talk about it like summarize it in your conclusion again. And these changes have been made against the backdrop of exports facing headwinds due to recessionary trends because of the Russia-Ukraine conflict and supply chain disruptions. You can try to avoid this line if you do not want to explain a lot or summarize a lot. And this will be a major boost to India's export and the domestic sector, as it will provide Indian competitors with a level playing field with global competitors. Then you can talk about Atmanirbhar Bharat, or achieving our vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat. You can talk about that. If you want to talk about a solution, increase budgetary allocation, and making coming to, let's say, a truce with USA and European Union, making a point that this scheme is not is actually very justiciable. It can be justified on various levels, and Indian economy is a developing economy, hence we need to provide such schemes, benefits of such schemes to our exporters, and so that countervailing duties are not laid in future. Okay, so with the help of diplomacy, addressing these issues which are arising at WTO. Now I'm displaying the question again on the screen. As you know, in Perspective 360 degree, you get free evaluation services. If you post your answer in the YouTube comment section in the next 48 hours, write the answer on your own, and you get free evaluation. Evaluation is carried out by our expert team at RoDTEP. They provide you with very good quality evaluation. They give you marks. They give you a very comprehensive evaluation on each and every line or each and every part of the answer that you have written. And many students who have followed Perspective 360 degree continuously have reported that their answer writing skill, first of all, it has improved, it has polished, it has got better. Secondly, they have been able to be more, they have been able to develop more consistency over time. So kindly post your answers in the comment section as early as possible. The deadline for the answer for today's video is Wednesday 5 p.m. So before that, post your answers for free evaluation, and do like this video, do subscribe to our channel. If you have any additions to make, if you have any review or feedback for Perspective 360 degree, I'll be happy to read it in the comment section. All right, so now coming back to your doubts, whatever additions you have made here. Thank you, Ashok sir, and thank you, Veenu ma'am. So Lucifer's doubt, Lucifer made a very good addition, and Brohit Yadav also made very good addition there, high import duty. Kshitij Sharma, is it related to import-export policy under globalization? Yes, absolutely, Kshitij. It is related to that. Kshitij Sharma, FOB are those goods or products which fall under RoDTEP? No. FOB, freight on board, is basically a term that is, for example, I send my ship containing products from here. I send it from here to USA. Now, in the middle, whose product is it, or whose country's product it is? Who takes the guarantee that if the ship sinks in the water, who will pay the money for it? Is it me who's selling those products, or is it the person who has asked me to send those products with the help of a ship? There should be some buyer. So whose responsibility it is? Either it is, so that ship, that is known as the products on the ship, they are known as freight on board. So whose responsibility it is? There can be two ways to mention that, either freight on board buyer or freight on board origin, that means seller. So either I take the responsibility, I get into losses if the ship sinks, or the buyer gets into losses if the ship sinks. Now, usage of such terms or usage of such kind of agreements, especially when the buyer is incurring the cost of freight on board, that demotivates the buyer to buy from me. He would probably buy from somebody who's exporting through other methods or not using this form of trade. So this scheme itself mentions the term freight on board. So whatever freight on board products are there, only for that products you can actually get a get a refund of tax. And let's say you've not exported those products, you have just produced them, and for some, let's say, seasonal variations, or because of some problems in supply chain, for example, during the Russia-Ukraine war, supply chain disruption was there. So let's say I'm not able to export those products, that means I'm not able to get the refund for the products that I have already created for export. I hope this is clear. It is true. Okay, Sejal, what is true? Thank you, Ashok sir. Okay. So, Sejal, I'm waiting for your response. what is true, and then we'll call off this session. For those of you who are watching this in the recorded format, do let me know in the comment section how Perspective 360 degrees helping you, and how your doubts have been cleared by today's discussion. Is RoDTEP scheme clear to you? Is the entire background clear to you? Okay, Kshitij. Okay, so let's call this a day. Sejal, kindly let me know in the comment section then whatever your doubt is. I'll address it there. I'll see you on Wednesday at 5 p.m. All of you, kindly join me on time and stay motivated, stay consistent, develop an index for all the 54 discussions we've had on Perspective 360, and all the very best for your preparation. Take care, and Wednesday 5 p.m. it is.